Meanwhile, Finance Secretary Cesar Purisima assured there will be sufficient revenues to fund next year's allocation. Again, the details from Freddie Abando.
The government will continue strong revenue performance in 2016 to fund the proposed 2016 national budget of 3.002 trillion pesos.
The national government's fiscal consolidation efforts are on track. On a cumulative basis, we have improved revenues by 58% since the start of the Aquino administration in 2010. With improved revenue performance, we have contained our fiscal deficit for 2014 to 73.1 billion or 0.6% of GDP. We continue to maintain, however, our 2% medium-term deficit to GDP goal. We continue to see a positive growth trajectory for our revenues in the first semester of 2015. We already breached the 1 trillion revenue mark in the first 6 months of 2015, which is 16.3% higher than last year's first half revenues. Total BIR collections for the first 6 months of 2015 amounted to 705.1, an increase of 9.7% compared to the same period in 2014. Meanwhile, Bureau of Customs registered a 178.6 billion in collections, 3% higher compared to the same period last year. Despite the weighted average declared value of oil being down by 40% in the first 6 months, Bureau of Customs collections from non-oil commodities grew by 18% year-on-year. Non-tax revenues increased by 76.5% in the first half of the year. This includes the transfer to the special account under the General Fund of the Coco Levy Fund amounting to 60.1 billion as instructed by Executive Order 180. We have adjusted the 2015 fiscal program to reflect the impact of the recently approved revenue-eroding measures in Congress and the impact of the drop in oil prices.
Finance Secretary Cesar Purisima bared revenue performance has led to ample fiscal space which enabled government for 5 years to have the resources to sustain economic growth. Total projected revenues for 2016 is 2.696.8 trillion pesos. Tax revenues will amount to 2.543.3 trillion pesos. Non-tax revenues will amount to 151.4 billion pesos. The deficit of 308 billion pesos will be sourced from borrowing. Purisima said the sin tax reform has been a major boost for the government's program of fiscal consolidation. This has contributed to the investment upgrade of the country.
Given the positive result from the ongoing reforms in the BIR and BOC, we expect to bring our actual performance close to the revised year-end targets and continue the positive growth for the past 5 years. During the first 2 years of its implementation, the sin tax law reversed the declining trend of excise tax collections from tobacco and alcohol products as a percentage of. We thank the members of Congress, led by Chairman Ungab, for this landmark reform that continues to be a win for both health and revenues, as well as tax rates and prices, especially of tobacco products. The increase in production and volumes dropped.
Purisima that while the country continues to borrow, its reliance on foreign debt has been going down in recent years. Only a third of the national government debt is foreign. The government's debt management has reduced the debt burden on expenditures, providing more resources spent for social services.
Now, only a third of our outstanding national government debt is foreign, as compared to almost half during 2009. Our preference towards borrowing local is in line with our effort to mitigate risk on debt servicing from adverse foreign exchange fluctuations. Our proactive liability management agenda has decreased the burden of debt on our budget, creating more fiscal to fund social commitments. Over 10 years, government has cut the ratio of interest payments to revenues and interest payments to expenditures by almost half. As a percentage of revenues, interest payments are down from 31.7% in 2006 to 16.8% in 2014.
For the People's Television Network, this is Freddie Abando reporting.